Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Michelle Adams, author of Family Strong 7 Gifts for a Lasting Legacy. And I am so excited to bring this particular conversation to us today. We are talking about the gift of compassion. And I have my beautiful friend, Katrina Little, here, and I'll introduce her in a minute. But I want to cue this up a little bit because we are in April, and April, as some of you may know, it's all about volunteer month. So it's National Volunteer Month, and we want to make sure, to the extent possible, that we're doing what we can to support our various communities. And this is one of the gifts that personally I thought was really important as we talk about how we're building a strong family and these legacy gifts. And that is one of the gifts, the gift of compassion. And so I'm just going to read, before I introduce Katrina, I'm just going to read just a little blurb from the book that talks about family giving. And I wrote, I believe raising compassionate and caring children is one of the best things we can do as parents. Children have a natural tendency to want to contribute to the world in some way. At an early age, they can learn to make sandwiches for someone in need or pack a plastic bag filled with toiletries. When our kids were younger, we took them to a nursing home on Christmas morning to sing Christmas carols to the residents. They also helped package dry food to send to developing countries in need of emergency food supplies. We rake leaves, snow for seniors, and on and on. And I was telling Katrina before we began that I actually had on this t shirt earlier, and if you can see, it's about autism walks. And so this was a volunteer experience that me and my youngest it went through together. We volunteered at the registration table for people who wanted to walk. And so one of the things I end with in just that paragraph is the benefits of volunteering, getting your children involved in charitable causes. In my opinion, it's threefold. It helps build compassionate, socially conscious beings. It helps them learn gratitude, and it shows them that they can make a difference at any age. And as a natural tie into this, I wanted to bring on Katrina Little to talk about nurturing that gift of compassion in our young people. Now, let me say this, y'all. Miss Katrina has a very long and lengthy bio, and I know I'm not going to give full justice to it because we just don't have enough time, but I'm going to capture the highlights because I want to give you and make sure your flowers are represented here in this moment. So just bear with me. Katrina is a faculty lecturer at the Department of Nursing at Metro State University in Denver, Colorado. Her areas of focus are on ethics and professional nursing practice and community and public health nursing. She has 16 years, probably a little bit more now, as a registered nurse with 14 years of clinical experience, specializing in inpatient obstetrics and low to high risk birth experiences, and not just in Colorado, but across the country, but specifically in California and Texas. However, she is growing this empire because she is speaking all over, and we're going to speak all over the world. We're going to put that out there. Where she's doing a
Yes.
lot of speaking right here in this country. Yes.
Good.
Yes. Um, she is also the co-founder of her company, Mother's Serenity RN LLC, and this is for postpartum and newborn healthcare services. She has been a presenter, as I mentioned, in so many places, but she's also a TEDx presenter, y'all, at MSU Denver. So she just has a wealth of experience, not to mention all the community work that she also is taking part in. In addition to this, and I don't know where you find the time, but she's also pursuing her doctorate degree, and not just
Mm.
at any old school. She decided to get her doctorate at an HBCU at Hampton University. And I know the Howards of the world are like HU, and it's like, no, it's the other HU. Maybe you'll say the
Right.
HU. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't want to have any problems with my folks.
Right.
But then, and I know this because I know her heart, all of these accolades, all of the bio, that's all great, but she is devoted to her husband, who's a law enforcement officer, and her 4 precious babies, who are not really babies, but in a mother's eyes, they will always be our babies. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Katrina, welcome to Family Strong Conversations.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, my sister. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation to come into your space where I know you're doing amazing and wonderful work because you have blessed my family time and time again. So I am happy to be here to be able to return a portion of the favor.
Well, look, and what I should have said is that not only with this, but she's also my sorority sister, y'all. So
Yes,
shout out to
yes,
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
yes, we are doing it. We are doing it.
Yes, yes. So excited. Now, okay, I know I read this very lengthy bio, but let's go beyond the bio and get to the heart of it. What is it like being the mother of four precious boys?
Oh, busy, busy. I had a joke that I would say often, I am a faith woman of faith. So I would always say, they say the Lord doesn't put more on you than what you can bear. But at times in my household with our four sons plus my husband, I feel like he probably overestimated. I was like, I think he has more confidence in me than I do in myself. This is feeling a little heavy right now, but they are amazing. They are my a gift. They're a mother's gift having all of those boys, and you're the only queen of the house. And so it has its challenges, of course, being underrepresented in my own household. But they are an incredible, incredible gift. And I count it all joy that God has entrusted in us, putting four young Black men into this world and into this society to lead.
Amen. Amen. Oh my goodness. And remind me how old they are.
So our oldest is 18, and I just got the little senior notification for the final activities. Um, I got that today. So kind of in my feelings in this moment. But our oldest is 18, and then we have a 14-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Ooh, yes, yes, yes. Well, God bless you, first and foremost. I love what you said. It's like being the queen, and you truly are, and they treat you as such. And that's a beautiful thing. All of them, from the youngest to the daddy.
Yes, yes, yes. And they're like, your mama.
That's right. That's right. Better
That's right.
respect
Take
your
care,
mama too.
mommy.
Yes. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is because what I see as your strong commitment to giving back to the community. And you have instilled such a heart, in my opinion, such a heart of compassion in your children. Tell me, why is that or was that important to you to do?
Well, I grew up in a well, it's not a small community, it's a close-knit community, but it was the largest African American community for many years in Houston, Texas, called Acres Home, Texas.
Mm.
And so after slavery, after the period of slavery, they sold this particular community by the acre. And so that's where it got its name from, Acres Homes. But I grew up in that community and everyone knew everyone. If they had it, you had it. And I come from a big family. My mom is one of 10 siblings. My dad is one of 9. And so we always, it's if you have two of something, share one. So that was the spirit that was instilled in me, in my roots and in my upbringing. And from there, I took that into college, to the collegiate setting. I did not grow up. I was a first generation college student, so I didn't grow up with exposure to sororities and fraternities and community service in the traditional manner. And so when I went away to college, I saw that that is where the service was being conducted amongst our Panhellenic and National Panhellenic sororities and fraternities. And that was a natural affinity for me to want to be drawn to that environment where my service could be to others. Because again, from a faith perspective, that is our purpose on earth, but to serve the people. And so it's always been inbred in me, coming from a small community, a village.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I'm sure as you're talking about, the close knit, I also, in biblical kind of reference, I also think about to whom much has been given, much is expected. Did you hear that a lot growing up? Or
Absolutely, absolutely. We didn't have much, but what we had, we shared. And my mom will argue to this day. She said, I had the happiest times when I had the least. And
oh,
so, yes, we didn't have much, but what we had, we shared. It was an open door type policy. But I believe that the fruits of the labor of my ancestors is paying off in the life that I'm able to afford today from my family. Because when I reflect to my children, the modest and humble beginnings that I had in my family, they're like, but how are we in this situation now? Because to whom much was given, much was expected. And people sowed seeds in my village, and I'm the product of their seeds, and my children are still feeding off of the same seed.
ooh, you better say that. Oh my goodness. I
Yes.
just think about we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Now, I know you shared that you are an only child and your husband is also an only child. Now,
Yes.
let me say this, it may be unfair, but sometimes the only child can get the reputation of being a little selfish, of
Mhm.
not ready to share. My experience, I've had several really close friends who were only children, and they are the most generous and loving individuals ever. Did that shape you at all, being an only child, one way or the other?
Absolutely. I have an uncle that I spent a lot of time. He helped my mom with before and after care and things like that. But I had to learn to share. So I have 27 first cousins. And so, being the only child, they had their sisters and brothers. But when we came into a familial setting, or when we'd all gather at Big Mama's house or Grandma's house because they were babysitting for the weekend, I had to develop allies. So if I wanted to, if I wanted to have an ally, then I had to be able to learn to share. And so it really was a bartering system. It started that way for survival.
I love that. It's almost like the game of Survivor or the TV show Survivor. It's like,
Right, exactly. For me as an only child, it was
yes,
because otherwise, if back in the day, sisters and brothers, they stick together, of course. So
yes.
I had to join somebody else's clan to be able to have more impact.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, speaking of, growing up as an only child, again, probably traditional school system, but you chose to homeschool your children. So I guess my first question would be, tell me more about that. And then did that help, or was that a detriment to exposing your kids to opportunities to give back?
Well, so my husband and I, when we're military veterans, but my husband's a military veteran, so that's what brought us here from Texas.
Mhm.
And so when we had our first son, we were public school educated, traditional school. That's was good enough for us, is good enough for our kid. I know even the grandparents was like, you gonna put them in private school? Yeah, if y'all paying. But so we had the mindset of traditional school. But after our oldest left preschool, the teacher, his preschool teacher, identified a learning environment that would be most conducive for him in a time where kindergarten classrooms were surging to 28 to 30 kindergartners. She said this would not be conducive to his learning. And she said small student teacher ratio would be beneficial to him. And where else can we find that but in a private school setting? So that's where we began to search out private schools. So from that, we kind of stayed on that path actually until our second oldest son was ready for kindergarten. And there's this thing, and I think this is a great place to put it out there. There's this thing called academic redshirting. And a few years ago, so now actually would have been over a decade ago, they started sort of this, hey, we're going to hold our kids back on purpose. It was something typically that families would make an individual a very personalized decision to do, but it became sort of a movement amongst affluent populations. And in the school that we were seeking to take the second son to, where his older brother was already attending, this decision was made for us and not with us. And the statement was shared that, but when he gets older, he'll be bigger and more able to play sports. And we said, so that is not our first thought when we think about our child's success. Academics comes first. And we see that you no longer have his best interest at heart. So we pulled both of our students from that school, and then we put them into another school that I love and helped shape our boys, at least the first three of them, to their core, because it was a family away from home. And that's Excel Institute, formerly known as Union Baptist.
Mm.
And so they were there amongst Black and brown administrators, male and female, and teachers and instructors, and some of whom are still in their lives to this day. And from there, they closed their doors, unfortunately, after 35 years of service to our community. And my husband and I were we were aware that, that was going to happen. I was leading up to that. And so we said, what are we going to do? At the time, I was a school nurse in a public school system here in the Denver metro area. And I was seeing firsthand, it was involved in how we are navigating and how we are serving or disserving our Black and brown boys. And that decision is what largely shaped our decision, because we said we're not sending our boys back out to have their self-esteem lowered, microaggressions, macroaggressions. We're not putting them in that situation anymore because they have been built up so much through Excel Institute. We didn't want to go backwards. And so it was in 2016, 2017 academic year that we decided we were going to reshape our lives to accommodate homeschooling.
Wow. I've said this prior to the show, but there are so many pieces of your story that I can spin off into other recordings, because the homeschool piece and making sure that our children are protected and that the administrators respect who they are as individuals, that's a whole nother conversation, but it's helpful to understand kind of the mindset as to, yes, there was that traditional public school setting or the private school, but this is the way we chose to go because we wanted to take ownership of our children's development.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm a storyteller by nature. That's why I enjoy
Yeah.
being an academic, but absolutely. And I hope, that we will have an opportunity, because the information is needed in our community. And moreover, it's can I do it?
Yeah.
Can I do it? And we weren't sure. I began to look into friends that I knew that homeschooled. I stopped random people I saw with kids that looked like they were old enough to be in school in the gym. And I said, hey, your kids look like they should be in school, but they're not. Do you homeschool? And so people like that felt open enough to share, Black and white women who felt old enough to share their journey, are really who helped shape my confidence. And so I want to be able to do that same thing for other families and other communities who, in our current climate and current events, are seriously facing it, but they need that extra boost of support and encouragement that I received.
Oh gosh, agreed 1,000%. And so you mentioned, because I know coming from New York, kids were in school at certain times of the day. There was no, you see somebody, in the supermarket, because then
Right.
you're thinking either they're cutting class or maybe they're sick. But, and,
Right.
and I know I would go to the store at different times of the day and I'm seeing people, young people, I'm like, well, what is this? And that's how the homeschooling came on my radar. And with that, we know that with the traditional school setting, it does, to some degree, offer opportunities for kids to give back. I know when my daughter was in high school, she would go read to students at another local elementary school. So there was that opportunity to kind of connect. Has being children that have been homeschooled, has that helped or hinder your quest to make sure that these children develop a giving heart?
It's actually, I would say both. I'm not one that likes to straddle the fence. I'm either hot or cold.
Yeah.
But I'm not lukewarm. But in this case, hindered,
Mhm.
because it definitely it shifts the burden, right? Or not the burden, but it shifts the responsibility to the parents. So hindered in the way that it's not already built into their day-to-day instruction, but it is helped because the flexibility in their schedule allows for, when I do find opportunities, for us to navigate that and build it into our homeschool curriculum or our homeschool day. And so, for example, thank you for the efforts that you have done in the community with the online reading program. I was able to bring my children in their homeschool day. As a part of their homeschool day, your reading time is going to be spent reading to other children. And so we were able to do that from the comfort of our home, but through Zoom. And that was very empowering for them because now they're the older kids, and so it was very encouraging and empowering. But a lot of their community service still takes place outside of the regular school day through community mentoring organizations that we partner with, like Kappa Alpha Psi Alumni Chapter, like our Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Mu Omega Omega Chapter, and also like Jack and Jill of America. And a lot of it is incorporated into those three organizations and their desire to see our children grow up to be servant leaders.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And let me actually talk about Jack and Jill for a minute, because I know that you all are very involved in that. Tell me, well, I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this may know about Jack and Jill, but just very quickly, just tell folks what Jack and Jill of America is, and then how that has supported your efforts in making sure that the kids have this environment with which to give back.
Listen, well, I will give you the branding Jack and Jill, but then I have to speak from the heart.
Yes.
Jack and Jill of America Incorporated is an organization founded by mothers for the development of African American children and children within our communities to mature into civic-minded, leadership, philanthropic, community service centered, and just the next leaders of our race and our global society. And we do that for children beginning as early as ages 2 and going as high as ages 19 to 20 years old. So our mothers are dedicated, committed, and passionate, not only to seeing our children excel, but to the children that are represented in our community through the service that we do through Jack and Jill of America Foundation.
They need to put you on the branding team.
Listen, because I need another job, right?
Yeah, forget that. Roll that back. Never mind.
Right.
We'll edit that out.
Right. But as an organization, I was 28 years old, and I covered up my gray a little bit today, so you can't see it. But I was 28 years old when I started with Jack and Jill of America. My husband and I had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old at the time. Now, going into our 14th program year, my oldest son has had an opportunity to serve as the regional team treasurer for 2 years. Consecutively, he was elected. He is also currently serving as an aide to one of our state representatives in the state of Colorado. He wouldn't have had the courage and the astute awareness, the networking, and the confidence, moreover, to really turn a social event that was meant to just highlight a group of students into a personal networking opportunity to take beyond, that one-time experience. And so he turned a situation where he was a guest, but he would have normally been a volunteer at the Capitol. But because of his maturity and because of his professionalism and his ability to articulate his confidence and his skill set, that he was offered a paying position. And so that's just one of many examples of our children who are excelling. My next son, Jeremiah, who's 14, he's very shy. I've shared that to you more than once. They're like, he doesn't seem shy, but he is very shy. But he has developed the confidence through working through a lot of the leadership modules and training and being able to connect with other children, Black and brown children, that he wouldn't otherwise have exposure to in small groups, to develop confidence to have his voice. And he was able to go and win the oratorical competition for the region last year, speaking to over 200 attendees about Black women and what they mean to our society and our culture. So he, from that, through service, right? Because that's what you talked about. He partnered with Community College of Aurora, and they have a fostering success program for children who are young adults who have aged out of foster care. And so he felt comfortable speaking to the president of Community College of Aurora, Dr. Mordecai Brownlee, and being able to navigate that partnership and see it through, working with his peers to raise money, and then solidifying the partnership by delivering those fundraised finances to the Community College of Aurora to continue to invest in other communities, particularly those aging out of foster care.
Wow. So look, here's the thing. Yes, we're talking about service and giving back to the community. And we also know that when we give, we don't necessarily have the expectation to get something back, but it's just the way the natural order of things, play out. And when you give, when you seed, when you do for others, that does come back to you in some way. And I don't think I mentioned this to you, but we were at the Capitol when your oldest, when Jaden,
Oh,
yeah, it was Jaden,
yes. Uh-huh.
and his first day.
Right. It was his first day. So true. Yeah, they told me, they were like, hey, I think that's Katrina's son, isn't it? Yes, he was getting, like, he was just getting his badge.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. And it was just so inspiring to see him. And what I had shared with you, a while back is one of the reasons why, among many, that I wanted you to come on is that I had the honor and the privilege of reviewing scholarship applications for our scholarship program with the sorority. And as I was reading it, I'm like, who is this young man? And then I see the name and I'm like, of course, that's who it is, because he was just doing so much. And here's the thing. We know that in some communities that people just kind of stuff the envelope, right, with all this random things that they've been doing. And it is what it is for people to get into college. But when you truly have the heart of a servant who wants to give back because their mama and their daddy has instilled into them that this is what we expect out of this generation, out of our children, that speaks volumes. So I salute you all.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, my husband and I, both of us well, my husband's a first responder. I am not a first responder because we're not the first line of defense, but being in healthcare for the many years that I served as a nurse, we definitely service is our work.
Yeah.
It's our life's work. And our children see that, they see the weekends, they see the holidays, they see the night shifts, all of those things. And it's our hope, because they will, what is it? They don't retain what we always say, but they definitely will replicate what they see us do. For better or worse, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
But when it comes to service, our hope is that they will see that it can be your life's work. But someone said a long time ago from our local community here, they said service is it was a requote, but service is the rent that we pay for our time here on earth.
That's
and
right.
That's something that I have repeated to our young men in our home, because a closed fist can't receive.
There it is. Yes. And I want to maybe attribute that one to Marian Edelman Wright. I think she was the one.
The first.
Yes, yes, yes. So as we start to wrap it up, what I want to ask you, are there any tips, strategies that you would have to encourage our listeners, our viewers, about how to encourage the young people, whether they have children or not? They could have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, about how to give back. And before you answer that, I just think about my parents and what they modeled to me and my sister as well. Now, initially, it was voluntelling us. This is what you're going to do.
Yes. That's absolutely it.
Yes, yes. But then there was a part that kind of softened and said, oh, yes, I want to give back in this aspect. But any tip strategies that you would want to share with those who are going to see this?
I would, the natural instinct of someone who thinks about how can I get my children, involved is to do, right? But it really starts before then. It starts with how they see the world. And you alluded to earlier in our interaction about compassion. And one of the first things I can remember, the conversations, even just sitting at the stoplight, right? We have people who are on the street for one reason or another. And whether you choose to give to their cause or not, one thing that you can have, because your children, when they're in the back seat or the front seat, they're looking too. And they're seeing these people and they're wondering, well, how did they end up there? What happened? And one of the things, I don't shy away from those conversations because it's a great opportunity to talk about the humanity in us all. And if we can see the humanity in us all, and that comes from maybe some research or something I was reading years ago that talked about people standing on the corner. A lot of times they don't get eye contact because people are afraid to look at them.
Mhm.
Even if you don't give anything, seeing them is one of the most powerful impacts that you can have on their day. And when you teach yourself and your children to see all of us, but especially those who are deemed to be the least of us, then they will truly have a heart for change and a heart for service.
Mm, that look, we are, yes, mic drop, end of conversation, point blank, because at the end of the day, you're right. Compassion is about humanity for our fellow man. And that part about looking someone in the eye says, I see you. I see you. Whether or not I'm able to do something for you, I see you. And that's powerful. And with a little more compassion in this world, maybe we can minimize or completely eliminate some of the social issues that we have today. Mm, mm, mm.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I did want you to talk about the work that you're doing in the space of maternal health, and in particular how it impacts Black women. But I'm going to put a bookmark in that, because that is going to be a whole nother conversation. But please tell people, if they want to get more information about the work that you're doing, where can they go for that?
So you can definitely follow me. My website is under construction because as things start to change and develop, the opportunities that I want to offer to our community do so as well. And so my website is under construction. But if you would like to get in contact with me, please email me at amothersserenityRN@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at amothersserenity_RN. Now, because that's my professional, but we are a dynamic family of 6, and we do a lot of fun things with homeschooling. If that's your interest for being able to connect with me, then you can follow us, our family, on Instagram at Big Adventures with Little Family.
Oh, I love, and they have the best pictures, y'all. I will make sure to include all of those links in the show notes, so if people didn't catch it the first time, they can go back to it. What a pleasure, how inspirational. And I don't know about everybody else, but I just feel a little bit more kind of lifted up now. And despite anything that may be going on in the world, I know that because of people like you and the wonderful human beings that you have helped shape, nurture, and are about to launch forth into this world, it will be a better place, person by person, encounter by encounter. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to everyone, please reach out to or follow Katrina and the work that she's doing. And then, of course, the book Family Strong, which you see behind me, also right here. 7 Gifts for a Lasting Legacy. If you go to familystronglegacy.com, you can place an order for the book, and I'll get that shipped out to you. As always, it is just a joy to bring these conversations to you all. I am Michelle Adams, host of Family Strong Conversations. And until the next time, take care and God bless. And thank you, Katrina.
Bye.